Welcome to Biz Dev Live. This is the Biz D with the C. I'm so excited to talk to you today about building your credibility. Now, one of the things that is a big detractor when you speak to somebody is when they don't seem authentic, they don't seem credible, they don't seem like they know what they're talking about or that they're an authority in their space, right? When you're talking to somebody and they come across that way, you don't want to do business with them. Well, the same is true if the other person on the other side of the conversation is thinking that of you. They're not going to want to do business with you. They're not going to want to associate with you in the same way if you don't build that credibility. Today's video is all about some steps that you can do in terms of your engagement with folks. And we're going to talk about a few different kinds of examples, right? One is the interview, right? Another is the sales process. And then the third is social media, right? So interview, sales process, social media. We'll talk about these examples in building your credibility with your audience. So whether that person is on the other side of the table or the other side of the screen, hopefully these tips and tricks for doing what should be very easy for you to do in terms of talking about yourself, no matter your level of experience and your level of credentials within a given industry, to talk about what you do have in a convincing way so people understand the value that you have to offer. We're going to get into it in just a moment after the Biz Dev theme.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
So what are the big things that you can do to make sure that you are coming across as credible to your audience? Little things that you can show your credibility, right? First of all is showing up and being prompt and being in uniform, whether that uniform is the specific uniform laid out by an interview, whether that uniform is the specific thing laid out for the culture of the type of business that you're in. If you're a banker, you need to dress a certain way. If you are a IT guy lining up for mentorship, networking, getting hired, throwing out social media videos, if you're in that space, it's a different uniform. It's not a suit and tie, right? It's probably a gray t-shirt and jeans or something along those lines, or a black turtleneck and jeans, something that fits in with that culture. So when I talk about uniform, for Toth Event Staffing for the last 9 years, I've asked people to show up in uniform. And that's black pants, white button-down shirt, long black tie. We have pictures of it. It's all over the place. If you ask me, I'll explain it in every bit of detail that you could imagine. We do that as a part of the interview process. People will give this information away to you. You just have to be inquisitive. You actually have to search and look for it, look for that opportunity and look for the culture that's around that. Have eyes wide open. So going into that, being prompt and showing up, hopefully that's a no-brainer, but that's really big, right? You're booking a sales call, you're getting into a relationship with somebody. If the first impression is that you're late, and sometimes that's unavoidable, but I would definitely, in addition to making sure that you show up strong for that late appearance, I would make amends and send a thank you card or send some kind of note to sort of, hey, this isn't the norm. This is not what I do. But more important than that, make sure your calendar, your schedule, your life is built around being on time. And if you know that you're going to have a challenge, letting the people on the other side of that conversation know what's going on. Social media, being sort of a little bit of the exception. If you're late, posting, or you haven't posted in a few days, I wouldn't talk about so much the fact that you are late posting. I would just post and try to bring value and make sure that you're showing up consistently the next time around. Again, consistency, showing up, being prompt, in social media, especially your consistency is key. And that's really what people are going to be looking for in terms of you offering value and proving your credibility, is that you're showing up often. Now, once you're showing up and you're there, what do you say? It's interesting. I've been watching skateboarding videos, and even in that world, people go by their full name, right? So Tony Hawk or John Hill or Jason Park. If a skateboarder needs to do it, then you probably need to do it, right? Make sure that when you introduce yourself, you're saying Cameron Toth. And I'm guilty of this. I go into networking situations all the time. Hi, I'm Cameron. Introducing your full name lends your name a little bit of authority. It puts it out there as a reference if they've heard of you, not heard of you. It can be a little bougie, but it's one of those things that lends your name authenticity and credibility. So when you introduce yourself, I'm Cameron Toth, CEO, Toth Event Staffing. So full name, full title, and it lends that credibility right there, right? Cameron Toth, host and founder of Biz Dev Live, right there. You hear a little bit more about me as an individual. It gives you some social cues as to what's going on, and really starts building that credibility right from the first line. You need to introduce yourself, and how you introduce yourself is important, as well as the words that you're using. How do you speak? Are you saying it so fast that somebody can't hear you? So that presentation of your name really speaks volumes on who you are as a business person. Are you proud of yourself as a business person? That is going to all show in how you introduce yourself. So build that credibility in that introduction. Why should the person that is talking to you care about talking to you? So if you've delivered business results, as CEO of Toth Event Staffing, I've built a business with 130 part-time staff, 2 full-time employees, $600,000 in revenue, right? You may not list those credentials right away. You want to look at who is on the other side and talk about, oh, I've taken part in that industry. That's been a hobby of mine since I was 15 years old. I have a doctorate in that. Whatever, talk to whoever your audience is. What are they interested in? They're going to introduce themselves. Oh, do you know so-and-so? Build the common bonds and common appreciation for the information that you're about to possibly exchange, right? And build that relationship, build reasons for your audience to care. If it's an interview, make sure that the person understands the people that you've worked with, the value that you've brought to them. State clean, clear examples. Oh, I worked with Jerry and we did XYZ project. Oh, that's great. I know Jerry too, right? So list those things that are going to be meaningful to your audience. That requires knowing your audience. I think one of the things that's really rough when I get into a networking conversation, a face-to-face call, is if the person is kind of going through my profile while, oh, I'm looking here, kind of either do your homework or be a little bit more sly about it and make sure that you're connecting. And if you really just don't know anything, just be honest about that and say, hey, tell me about yourself. I'm really curious to know more about you. What would you like to share? But more to the point, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your background or how you got into that kind of business, that kind of thing, and let the person talk, and then find those common places of interest, so that when your next piece of dialogue comes, you can make sure that you are saying something that's impactful for your audience. I talked a little bit about credentials, but again, why should it matter? Why are you an authority in this space? You can start speaking to that, and then relating your credentials and skills to the audience's problem. So if you're in the job hiring process, how do your skills fit in with the company's needs? That's really important, right? So whether you're a meeting planner or a salesperson, what have you done in a previous job that really is applicable to this one? Saying things like, I work hard, I'm a good worker, I'm really nice to people. Those things are hopefully givens. So what specific examples of types of businesses or types of products that you've worked with are really going to make a difference for the employer on social media? Really, what are the experience pieces and what value can you bring to the other person on the other side of the screen? So how can you show that you're an authority in this space, you have experience in this space, and that the steps and things that you have to offer are actually of use or of value? It may be something from a style point of view. It may be places that you've been, things that you've done, but talk about those things in relation to what your audience really you think they care about. Make your solution accessible. So sometimes, people do a really great sales pitch and then there's no real way to follow up with them. I hope you guys are comfortable commenting below, sending questions. I'm really responsive. And so I want you to know that I am accessible, right? So you can get a hold of me by commenting below, by dropping questions, whether you're on YouTube and dropping a comment below or on Facebook, dropping it off to the side. I'll get it. I'll respond. I'll be responsive to you, right? So if you're doing a sales pitch, maybe you're selling a product. What's the price, right? What is the thing that you offer? You guys, I want you to subscribe, and I'm providing value by delivering videos every single day, so that there's always new information. There's always updated information, and you're seeing my progression on YouTube as I deliver a video every single day, as so many people have built their brand and value from that. So you get to sort of ride along with that and see that progression if you're trying to build that for yourself. Whether it's your email, whether it's a link, make it accessible for the person, right? If you're applying for a job and you sent the resume and your email address has not been checked or it's not on there, that's something that's going to be one of those things where, man, this guy doesn't know how to communicate or this woman doesn't know how to communicate. So make sure that you're making your stuff accessible. If you're on social media, I've seen plenty of times people put their stuff on social media, but they have private accounts. So if you're really trying to grow, you probably want to open that up to public viewing and make sure you can let people in. There's lots of reasons to do private accounts. I'm not going to get into that here, but however you need to do it, make it accessible. Hey, this is a private thing. I'm going to send you a link. This is how you get to it. I'm going to send it to you right now, and having a process for really just doing that. If you're offering a product or service, having clear pricing and not beating around the bush. I can offer you this. I can offer you this. You know what? I don't know what you're offering, so I really don't know. But if you tell me a clear price, I can say yes or no, right? If it's too high, too low, and I want you to think about that as well, because sometimes your price can be too low, and that can be a turnoff as well as the price being too high. So don't be so afraid with your price. Make sure that it is something that works for you, most important. If it is actually, relevant to what is paid out in the market, or so much the better, but put it out there, make it easy for people to get in, get what they want, and go. And that should build your credibility nicely. I want you to focus on telling your story. Your story is very unique to you. You are the only person with your story, and your story will make whatever you're doing very credible. So just focus on that. Make sure you're being real. Make sure you're talking about solutions and really knowledgeable about what your product or service does for folks. Be clear with it. Talk professionally. Show up. Be smart and progress daily. I will see you tomorrow. I hope you got something out of the session today. Gain credibility, show up, make sure you're relevant to your audience. Take care. Have a great day.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.